How we doing, everybody? Episode 5, all the bases. Look at that. We are back for another episode. New and improved mic as well, as we promised in the description. If you do read it, it is Improvements Weekly. So we are bringing that to you guys, and happy to be here with you, Dan Bartels, Benjamin Oppenheimer as well. Excited. And I think we have a really big week ahead. I think we're looking at a lot of exciting things, and specifically the Olympics. Those are now behind us. It was a good run. It was something that I think a lot of us took for really the country. You know, this was a win for America. They bring home the gold, and we talked about that, of course, on the last episode of All in the Bases. And we've had a lot of fallout since both men and women have taken home gold in the Olympics. We'll get to that, of course. We got baseball on the docket as well. Really excited to get into baseball as that's now picking up. We are now February 26th. We are getting a month away from spring training and it being over, and opening day is officially a month away. So excited for that. And then we'll bring you some other stuff at the end, as we always do, our shortstop segment. But first base, we got to get to it. St. John's last night got routed up there in Hartford by a score of 72-40. Rick Pitino had no answers for Danny Hurley and his UConn squad. They really got ran out of the building, specifically in that second half. They went the final 17 minutes and 28 seconds without a made field goal. It's embarrassing. This is a St. John's team that should be much better. They won the last time they faced them at the Garden. Funny, after the game, we'll get to what happened during the game, but after the game, Danny Hurley spoke. Rick Pitino did not. He did not meet the media, but Danny did, and he spoke about making a joke saying, I wish it went to the Prudential Center, talking about the Big East tournament, because the MSG crowd, they bring it for the Johnnies. So obviously not going to happen. The contract is signed for the Garden, but you could not see that last night. There was no energy because it was all UConn fans, and they brought it. They definitely did. They ended St. John's 13-game winning streak, and that came to an end, possibly their chance of a 3 seed going out the door as well. So you can hope for a 4 seed if you're St. John's, if all goes to plan and you win the Big East tournament, but there's a lot of questions to answer right now if you are a Johnny's fan, specifically after last night. UConn looked like the number 1 seed that we expect them to be. Currently the number 6 team in the country. There were scoring droughts for the Johnnies. 7 minutes, 23 seconds, 10 minutes, 46 seconds. It's not good. That's not winning basketball. I think that's pretty evident. But at the end of the day, Josan Sanin, the ASU transfer for St. John's, led the way with 10 points, but he didn't score after halftime. You saw that last night. UConn's defense was on display, and they definitely got the job done. Zuby Ejiofor, supposed to be Big East Player of the Year. He did not look like it last night. 6 points, 3 of 14 shooting on 5 shots. St. John's shot a dreadful 20% from the field as a team. They were 5 for 20 from three-point range and forced only 5 turnovers. Who was the player of the game for the Huskies? It was Terrace Reed Jr. He was the best player on the court, not even close. Both ends of the court, defense and offense, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 6 blocks. Alex Caraban as well, 14 points. If you want the truth, St. John's going to have to win out. They're going to have some national attention back on them again, specifically in the Big East tournament, to even consider, for me, Zuby Ejiofor to be the Big East Player of the Year. I know he's probably still the guy that will win it, and most likely deservingly so, but last night, Alex Caraban, to me, was the better player, and head-to-head matchups in basketball are very, very important, and yesterday, UConn sent St. John's home packing. So, Ben, I don't know if you caught any of the game, just real quick, but also, before we even get into that, congratulations, because Ben got a new job this week, and Ben is no longer there you go. He was working at the Fan, and now he will be working at MLB Network, so that is very exciting. So now when we say all of the bases with New York Post Dan Bartels, we can also say MLB Network's Ben Oppenheimer. So how does that sound, big man?
Very grateful and so excited to get started at MLB Network, such a great organization and media outlet that people watch all the time, getting baseball inside information from some of the big names, big personalities. I've watched MLB Network since it's been on the TV in the background since I was a kid, from what I can remember. I'm sure you've had it on in the background too, Dan. And just very excited to get started. I'll be working behind the scenes in production, doing some logging. So it's going to be just really a new, fresh new undertaking, and it should be very exciting. And also we both have a friend from Fordham, Ralph Barbieri, who works there, and he's a friend from WFUV. Both of us know Ralph very well, and Ralph, I think, is going to help me get acclimated, so to speak, Dan. So I'm so excited once again to get started, and just grateful for the opportunity, especially in this industry, Dan. I don't want to go on a long
Oh,
tangent here.
sure.
You know, you take whatever chance or opportunity you can get, especially in the industry like this. And the best, it may sound cliche, but the best ability is availability. And when you throw yourself out there and say, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, keep reaching out. And this is for even some of the young people watching our podcast, and who may be college seniors, or even a year or two out of college, and they're getting discouraged and they want to be in this industry maybe. My advice is just keep plugging away, keep trying to make connections, networking. Don't be afraid to send that second or even third email. Um, just keep pushing, and a lot of times something is bound to come through.
Completely agree.
But I will say, in regards to a little bit of a different topic, St. John's
Yeah.
basketball. I think again, I don't know the Big East as well as you do, Dan, but I think maybe some people are being a little bit alarmist. I mean, St. John's are ranked 15th in the country. They've had a great season. I think their season has been so far comparable to their one 2 years ago in 2024, which was Patino's first year,
Yeah.
where they had a great season and then made it to the tournament. I forget how far they made it in the 2024 March Madness, but I think this team. Look, I mean, Zuby, of course, is a star, and unfortunately against UConn, if you're a St. John's fan. He didn't really have a great night. He 6 points, 2 for 5 from the field. Just not really a presence out there on the floor. But people have to put things in perspective. This is against UConn. This is against a first class, a world class premium basketball program. And, UConn is also run by, the absolute madman known as Dan Hurley.
Yep.
And one thing I've heard about Hurley, Dan, is just from reading articles and reports, is that Hurley is, especially after winning that first championship with that core that he did 2 years ago, he is like he became obsessed with just winning, and how could you not be? I mean, some of the greatest athletes or coaches in sports have become obsessed with winning. I mean, just look at Michael Jordan. But
Right.
Dan Hurley is like he almost reminds me, in a way, it may sound a little bit like a bizarre comparison, but he reminds me of Joe Mazzulla with the Boston Celtics a little bit. And whenever the Knicks would go up against the Celtics, especially in that playoff series last year, Dan, Joe Mazzulla is a madman. I get that kind of like mad scientist, head coach, just neurotic basketball energy from Dan Hurley that I also see whenever I see Joe Mazzulla when the Knicks play the Celtics. And so I'll just say that's the type, and just how the Celtics are a world-class organization in the NBA, that's UConn. And so I think, a lot of teams, they have off nights. I mean, St. John's, they had been on a winning streak. What was the winning streak then heading
13.
into 13? So I think a lot of times this is common at this point in the season in college basketball, but also even in the NBA, when the team is rolling 13 in a row, or once you get past 10 in a row, you're kind of, you've reached a new stratosphere, and you're like riding a wave of momentum, and the press is great, and the team chemistry, everything feels like it's perfect. And then you have the type of games that send you crashing back down to earth.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean, and again, I don't know St. John's as well as you do, or the Big East, but I know that one win against a powerhouse program, one loss against a powerhouse program, that's not going to determine, in my view, what happens in March. I mean, March is a totally different beast. Just how in the NBA, when the playoffs start, when April 15th happens, teams become a totally different version of themselves. So I think what St. John's has got to do is they've just got to win these last 3 games and move from there, and see how they do in the tournament, of course. So going up against Villanova Saturday, February 28th. That's at 8
Yep.
p.m. So that's this Saturday. And then they got St. John. They got Georgetown Tuesday, March 3rd, 7 p.m. And that's at home. So both those games, Villanova is at home for St. John's as well as Georgetown. I think both of those are at MSG, I think. And then the last game of the season for the Johnnies, for the Red Storm, is at your one of your old alma maters, Dan, at Seton Hall. Yep. So to me, Dan, what St. John's got to do to wash away, if you can, even of what happened with UConn, is just win 3 in a row and go into the Big East tournament with good momentum, a feeling that you kind of washed away a little bit of that wound. It's healed a little bit. But again, a lot is going to depend on what happens in the tournament. And then they head into March Madness. We'll see what happens from there. But my verdict is it's not the end of the world. And UConn, we saw what an excellent program they are and led by a great head coach.
No doubt, Ben. So I think that's where we're at. And absolutely crazy. And you mentioned 24 St. John's. They did not make the tournament 24. That's why I was a little hesitant. It was an unbelievable snub, but it was 25 last year that they had the Arkansas game. RJ Lewis benched at the end. It was crazy. Big East should have 4 teams into the tournament this year, pending with Seton Hall being that potential 4th, but you should have 3 locks. UConn 16-2 in the conference, 26-3 overall. St. John's 15-2 in the conference, 22-6 overall. Villanova will get in. They're 13-4, led by Kevin Willard, formerly at Seton Hall, 22-6. And Seton Hall on the bubble right now. They're 9-8 in the conference, 19-9 overall. Shaheen Holloway trying to do what he's doing out there in South Orange, New Jersey. All right, let's move off first base. St. John's is a mess, but hopefully they can continue to clean it up these final 3 games. Let's go to second base. Second base brings us to Washington, D.C. this week, which the State of the Union was held. We're not going to get into any politics about the State of the Union or what went down, but there is a sports connection, certainly, with Connor Hellebuck of the goalie of Team USA getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So that is certainly very special for him. And then also just seeing the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team out there getting the medals in front of the gallery. They were able to go out for a few minutes, wave. You had the president give them their honors that they were deserving of. So that was nice to see from a sports side. But there was also some other things as well that transpired this week in the sports world in relation to kind of what took place with the men's hockey team. A lot of fallout from this and negative fallout. You see guys like Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, again, not getting political, it's just reporting on what happened. He was invited to be in the locker room after their celebration, the men's hockey team, of winning gold. Obviously sparked a lot of controversy. If it does seem like that is people want to keep politics out of sports, that's kind of doing the complete opposite. So there is a little bit of questions right now from both sides. People, quotes all over the place. And finally, the Olympic women's team is going to be going. They didn't go to the State of the Union, but they will be officially going to the White House due to scheduling conflicts. They could not make it. That's to each their own. I think if they wanted to be there, they probably could. They just wanted to send the message, and the message was well received. So you saw Jack Hughes last night in New Jersey getting the celebration coming back home with the Devils. Always great to see that. So yeah, it's just a lot of fallout this week from the Olympics, and it didn't help that Kash Patel was in the locker room celebrating at the end of the day. But Ben, I would love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, can you hear me, Dan?
Yes.
By the way? Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
Because we had some technical issues earlier for our listeners, but I want to say that regardless of your political affiliation, I'm going to start out with after that win, that euphoric win that we recapped right after it happened on
yeah.
Sunday. I was so glad to get to do that with you, Dan.
Yeah.
I really think when you mention Kash Patel, I think that he really, unfortunately, invited this controversy for this whole. He brought it to, and this is just my view. Obviously, people can disagree. He brought it to the whole team when he got in there and started, pounding beers with them and doing all that. In my view, that's not what an FBI director should be doing. that's not a commentary on how he's run the FBI. I'm not that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. What I am saying is that just I think a standard of decorum in our politics, especially nowadays, has been lost, and you can see how evident that is in what happened with Kash Patel, partying in the post game. It's like, can you imagine the previous FBI directors doing that? Like, can you imagine, Dan, think about back in the old days, if there was USA Hockey. I know back in the 50s they weren't good, but imagine J. Edgar Hoover, who was I believe the first director of the FBI. He was director for decades. And let's say in the 50s, J. Edgar Hoover, who was behind so many investigations. I don't want to get into history, but he's in a lot of historical important investigations having to do with the FBI. Can you imagine how it would affect his image if J. Edgar Hoover was just let me pound a couple of beers with USA Hockey? I mean, that it would just be off-putting, right? It would be a little, it would feel strange. And so I just thought, again, this is not a commentary on the FBI or Kash Patel running the FBI or any of that. It's commentary on if you're the FBI director, that has nothing to do with the Olympics. And of course, he's his own man. He's totally within bounds to do whatever he wants. Watch the game, attend the game even. I have no issue with that. That's showing some spirit for your country. But going into the locker room, partying with them, that's what I believe invited this whole flurry of media controversy. And I know we're going to get to that controversy where during the phone call.
Please explain. Sure.
I'll explain. So most of you who are watching us, I'm sure probably saw the video, but it's President Trump. He's on the phone with the whole team, and he's chatting them up, inviting them to the White House, to the State of the Union. And then he makes a quick quip or one-liner, if you will, that obviously has angered some people, particularly fans of women's sports, fans of USA women's hockey, saying, I have to invite you guys to the White House, to the State of the Union, because if I'll invite you guys, but if I don't invite the women's team, I'm going to be impeached. And he didn't even say it the way I just said that. That was a long-winded version. He was basically like, yeah, I'll be impeached if I don't invite the women. So you guys both got to come along. And in the moment, the players all laughed, and some of them were probably drunk already. And to me, again, this is my opinion. If you're not a fan of Donald Trump, if you're not a fan of the president, there are countless things that he has said that would probably give people more issues than that sentence, in my view. That, to me, it's just not that controversial. But I understand why the women's team was offended by that. They won gold. They won the women's team for the United States in the Olympics. They won, I believe, the most gold medals compared to the men. Hats off to the women. But the issue is people saying the way the media, fans, anyone just saying that the way the men responded in the locker room in that moment wasn't appreciative. For me, give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I would have probably, and I always try to be try to keep it classy. You know me, Dan. I really try to be polite, be a gentleman. I may have laughed in that moment because, like, sometimes I'll say this, like, sometimes someone can say something and you don't even know how to respond, and so you'll laugh. You do a quick laugh.
Right.
So, some players seem to have shown regret. I mean, the thing with me is I don't think this is a big deal to begin with. What I think, as I've said earlier, the bigger deal is the director of FBI partying up with the men in the locker room after the game.
No doubt.
It's like that. That's not appropriate.
No, it's not.
You can say that one-liner from President Trump was inappropriate or wasn't nice either. But for me, the optics of the FBI director, of Kash Patel partying it up with them, to me are much. It's not the end of the world, obviously, but it's a worse look what the FBI director did than anything that happened on that phone call. In my
Sure,
opinion.
no doubt. And I hear you loud and clear, Ben. I think that's honestly probably the right approach. There's a lot of people at fault, and you certainly invite this kind of political discourse when there is these kind of people in the middle of the picture. So we got to see how it goes. But yes, there is a lot of fallout from the Olympics, but it was a good Olympics. It was a nice run. America wins, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So politics aside, it's good to see America on top again. Let's go to shortstop. We will be brief, couple more minutes here on the podcast, but the Knicks, they're currently playing the Bucks right now. Tomorrow, excuse me, I was wrong, but they will be playing the Bucks tomorrow at 8 o'clock. That's a big game, but not a good game for the Knicks last time out. Ben, let's a little short here with this 109-94 win by the Cavs. Not good for the Knicks. Mike Brown, a lot of questions about the ceiling of this team. I have questions about the ceiling of this team. It's not good. A lot of injuries seem to pop up, a lot of just inconsistent basketball. I'd love to get your opinion just quick here on the Knicks and what is the future of this team? Can they actually win the Eastern Conference? Because I don't think they can.
I don't think they can win the Eastern Conference, much less make the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Maybe even not the Eastern Conference semifinals. And the reason I say that is because many reporters who have covered the team this season have commented that this team they have an identity crisis. They don't know who or what they are. They've had issues on the defensive end. Meanwhile, they're streaky in terms of their shooting. Overall, they look very inconsistent in some games. They're also losing games to teams that, for example, right before the All-Star break, that Pacers game, which I think we talked about back on Sunday. You can't be losing, and I know people will say it's the regular season, but you can't be losing games like that.
It matters. Every game matters.
Yeah.
Tell that to the Mets last year in 162 that lost by one game,
Yeah. If you want to appear to be a contender, if you want to look and act like a contending team, which this Knicks team, as we've mentioned numerous times on this podcast, was constructed to be a contending team. This Knicks team, after they made the conference semifinals last year with Tom Thibodeau, they were anticipated, or at least hoped in terms of how they were constructed, to come out of the East with Mike Brown at the helm. And I don't see that happening. I don't see them even getting to the final round in terms of who is coming out of the East. I don't see that happening right now. I mean, the Celtics, I've heard rumors, or actually not rumors, I've heard read reports of Jason Tatum practicing at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
And
we'll see.
Celtics right now without Tatum shows how good they are with Jaylen Brown. And
Ben, I might have to stop you there. I can't hear any more Celtics talk, and I hear it because the Celtics are the better team right now. They are. The Pistons are the better team, and the Knicks have their work cut out for them. So that'll be the shortstop segment, and we'll hit third base here. We'll talk a little baseball, a couple minutes, and then we'll get a couple things at the end, and then we'll wrap up. But very interesting stuff with the Mets right now. Very interesting stuff with the Yankees right now. Giants a little bit. Not going to talk football today, but the draft going on, the combine, all that. So the draft combine, excuse me. You got all the coaches there. You got Aaron Glenn today, who was falling asleep during it. Not good. But John Harbaugh, always great to hear from him. Joe Shane as well. He hasn't wavered from his job. He still feels that he's the man, and deservingly so. So we'll see. But yes, we'll keep it baseball, as that is now getting up to steam. We are 1 month away from spring training being over, and you have opening day. So really excited. 1 month. This Mets team looks good. Nolan McClain today pitched 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, looked really efficient. This Mets team overall looks really good. Who's going to play right field is going to be the question for them. And then the Yankees today, you saw Spencer Jones go yard. You saw Aaron Judge actually lose an ABS challenge, but that's going to be a normal thing in baseball. Aaron Judge getting rung up on pitches that he's been rung up on his whole career, which are balls. So not good, but interesting to see that. You saw Paul Goldschmidt go deep today too for the Yankees. So a little bit of a mix of both, but it's nice to have baseball back. And most of these episodes moving forward, once St. John's is out of there and the Knicks and stuff, it'll be first base, second base, kind of the first things we address every day. But or every episode, should I say. But yeah, excited to get baseball back, and it's always good to have some baseball to watch, Ben.
Absolutely. I say this is the most optimistic time of year for any baseball fan. You know, this is when spirits are high. Your team, it's a fresh start, and you get to see the prospects. You get to see some of your favorites get back out there. Guys shake the rust off, and it's one of, I think it's arguably the best time of year to be a baseball fan. Just the excitement, the pure joy of spring is coming back. Teams are out there, and spring training is also always great down in Florida at Port St. Lucie. If you're a Mets fan,
I'll be
I
down
know,
there in a week and a
yeah,
half.
yeah. So you've been down there many times, Dan. I know you got a place down there too,
Mhm.
on the Gulf side.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, I've only been down to Port St. Lucie once, and it was actually 10 years ago at this point, and that was back when we had a starting five of, you had Steven Matz, you had Harvey,
Oh,
you
Syndergaard,
had
DeGrom,
Syndergaard, DeGrom, you had
Malone,
Wheeler.
Wheeler. Oh.
I just still think of what if all of those guys were healthy
And,
at that
and
point in
the
time.
future rotation, Ben, is McLean, Christian Scott, who you're hearing great things about, Jonah Tong. Obviously, they traded Sproat, but you have those three pitchers right there. You got a really solid young core of guys coming up. So, really excited to see the Mets. Really excited to continue to talk baseball as we get closer to the regular season starting and the World Baseball Classic, too. Really excited to watch Team USA compete. Let's as promised, last episode, just wanted to quickly go over this top 10 pitchers. We will do some movies as well as we wrap it up, bring it home here on All the Bases, and we'll go close to home. This is just a little list I threw together. Last week we did the top 15 NBA players. This was just my top 10 pitchers of all time. Walter Johnson. We cannot dispute Walter Johnson. I know he played at a time where it was a long time ago. It was in the 1900s, and it was a player that people honestly forget about. But I want to share this because hopefully you guys could see this. There we go. Walter Johnson, what made him so good? He had a career WAR. I don't know why this is being annoying. 167.8. Just unbelievable years. Unbelievable years. I mean, look at these numbers: 15.2 WAR, 114 ERA. So for me, Walter Johnson, number one. A lot of people disagree with that, but honestly, I don't really care because I look at the numbers and nobody was doing that. But yeah, that's kind of that. Randy Johnson, number two for me, because Randy Johnson was the most unhittable pitcher. I think I'm a lefty batter, so I think of these things more scarier. Like I would have never wanted to face Chris Sale as a lefty batter, but Randy Johnson right there. Tom Seaver, obviously the franchise number three. I know you could have put Tom Seaver. Some people swore by he was a better pitcher than Randy Johnson. 5 Cy Youngs to 3. I just have to go with Randy there. Sandy Koufax, arguably could have been the greatest pitcher of all time if he pitched a little bit more. Greg Maddux, master of command. You can't forget Greg Maddux. Christy Mathewson, another player that played a long time ago. I could pull up the stats, but going to save us the time. Cy Young, Pedro, Roger Clemens, Bob Gibson. Now, yes, there are some pitchers that I left off. Lefty Grove, people were swearing by. I get some of that. I'm not going to dispute. Of course, people say Jacob deGrom. I've been very open and honest. Jacob deGrom's the greatest pitcher I've ever seen with my own eyes, but he's not in the top 10 in any list. That is
Could he be?
I think if he continues to put together a few more seasons, there's a case, but I don't see it. It's not a long enough career. He's had too many injuries.
I agree. I agree.
You know, so that's kind of it. Just wanted to give you guys that little thing, and then Ben, I know we wanted to talk a little movies. Okay, so I'll ask you first, Ben. I'll ask you first. What are your top 5 sports movies of all time?
Well, I feel like especially after last weekend, the generic answer for favorite sports film day is Miracle.
Yeah, right. With Jack Hughes' name being crossed off at the end. I found that so crazy.
Right, exactly. But I would say, I mean, believe it or not, I've actually only seen bits and parts of Miracle. I actually haven't sat down for the whole film, which I absolutely should. I admit to that. That's something I should see.
A good one. It's a good one.
But you know what's in the top 5 for me, and some people are gonna roast me for this, Dan. And well, I guess it's in the top 5 for its comedic value. Have you ever seen? You've probably seen it. Have you ever seen Major League with Charlie Sheen? Dan?
Yeah, definitely.
Major League. It's a true classic. It's one of my favorite sports films, just for its zaniness and its humor. I enjoyed it. What I also think, in terms of a serious movie, a serious, intelligent drama, well-made film, Moneyball has to be in the top 5.
It's in my top 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it has to be there because it shows the changing nature of how it went from a go with your gut kind of sport to analytics, in some ways overnight, within a couple of years.
Right.
And, some people, my uncle, it's funny, I guess the older generation, they don't like analytics. My uncle, who's a big Mets fan, as we are, he always tells me, he's like, yeah, I don't like analytics. For me, it almost seems that comes sometimes from a place of ignorance, even though I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But Moneyball, a great film. Also, I think a very important film for sports nerds of all types. So for me, it's got to be Moneyball. It's in no particular order: Moneyball, Major League, and you know what I'm also going to include in that top 5, Dan, is, and this also may sound out of left field, if you will, or maybe coming down a track you wouldn't expect, but I've got Disney Pixar's Cars.
That is your favorite movie. I do know that. It is a sports movie too. Racing's a sport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got that. I got Cars in my top 5. I got Major League in my top 5. I've got Moneyball, as I said, and I'm trying to think here. You got to put in Hoosiers.
It's a good one.
You got to get Hoosiers in there.
Friday Night Lights, Hoosiers. There's always some classics in there too.
Do you have any others, Dan, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so my list consists of Moneyball, which you have. I'm not a big movie guy. I want to be very honest. People ask me all the time at work, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this movie? I have not. I need to be better at it. I don't think it's attention span issue. It's just, maybe it is an attention span issue, but I don't think it is. I just not a big movie guy. I don't know what it is, but I'm
a big movie guy. So
yeah, no, I've met a lot of one of my close friends from Cincinnati back at Seton Hall. He was a big movie guy, knew every actor, knew all the entertainment stuff. It is something I envy and want to be better at, but hopefully more in the future. For me, number 1, Rudy. Rudy was one of my favorite movies of all time. Makes the Notre Dame team. Tells his father as he's working in the factory, and he's so happy. Just a feel-good movie, and I think we always need feel-good movies. Moneyball is on my list, just kind of the state of baseball. It's always a good film to go back. There's obviously some that we're leaving off, but Coach Carter, I really enjoyed that movie. I like the basketball movies. I like just the old school coach. He comes in and he just, these kids, these young whippersnappers, and he gets them right into place. And it was a good movie there. Sandlot. I can't leave off, the Sandlot. That's one of mine, like your Hoosiers, of course.
These are all hits, Dan. I can't disagree with any of these.
And then my last one, probably one of my more favorite movies of all time. It is a little controversial in terms of the name, but it is kind of true. White Men Can't Jump. Great movie.
I haven't seen that. I got to see it.
Wesley Snipes. Oh, it is a classic, Ben. They play pickup basketball for money, and it's like, it's one of those movies. It's just
you got to show that to me then.
Yeah, that's a classic. But
where does Space Jam rank? Because I know you're a big Jordan fan.
I like Space Jam. I didn't like 2 with LeBron, right?
Yeah, I heard that wasn't well received.
That was stupid. Space Jam 1 was great. It's in the top, 15's in there for sure. So. There's a lot of good sports movies, guys. Varsity Blues I just watched for the other day. It was all right. Don't know if it cracks top 15, but a lot of good sports movies, guys. A lot of classics. Speaking of classics, this was another one here on All the Bases. Ben, I appreciate you. A little quick episode this week. Nothing too crazy. Just covering all of the bases as we tend to do. And we will be back next week, maybe a couple days from now. We'll see with the Mets, the Yankees, the Knicks, St. John's. Excited for the week ahead. Everybody stay safe, stay warm, and God bless. Finally, I don't want to leave without doing our favorite Bible verse of the night. Ben, I don't know if you have one off the top of my head. I have one that is one of my favorites, but I would probably let you go first if you have one.
Well, we're both Catholic, so
Yep.
ironically, I think mine is, and I'm not just saying it because it's the only one I know. When you go up and receive the Eucharist when you're at Mass and you're practicing Catholic, and um, I always think of the word of the quote that's said during Mass. Um, Lord, I am not worthy that you would enter under my roof, but only say the word, and my soul shall be healed.
Right.
Uh, and I forget. Obviously, I know when it's said during Mass, but I forget what it's called when it's said during Mass. But that's said during Mass,
Yeah.
and we both know because we both go to Mass. And I think of that quote every time I receive communion, and it's become a quote that I try to keep with me, and that I'm not worthy, but only say the word. And it's a beautiful saying, my soul shall be healed. I'm not worthy that you are welcoming me here, but you are healing me by your presence. I think that was a beautiful quote from the Gospels, and a great message. And that's something I try to think, as I said, when I receive communion.
It's a beautiful one.
Yeah.
It's usually one of the last few prayers
Yes.
that you say at Mass.
Yes.
You go up and receive Eucharist right after that. Yeah, it's beautiful, Ben. Beautiful. We might do this every episode, just try to throw in our Bible verses, but this is one of my favorites. It's in both of my bios on Instagram and Twitter. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 through 16. I think this can apply to a lot of people, especially this time of year with the cold, and you'll see where I'm going. Actually, well, it is the salt. I'm not going to talk about that one, but what good is salt if it's not, salty? It loses its tastiness. It's just to be thrown underfoot. So it kind of goes to show like you have to be valuable and you have to use your gifts. And if you're not, then you're just going to be thrown by the wayside. But the next verse right after that is, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and gives light to everybody in the house. And in the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So that's great. Just use your gifts. And we're appreciative to have this platform, big or small. We don't really care. We're just happy to, have this. And it's been
Is
great.
an extra one?
Sure.
There's a quote from Spider-Man that a lot of people know from the movies. With great power comes great responsibility. To any comic book fans out there, that quote originally comes from the Gospels as well, from Jesus himself, saying, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked, which is basically the wordy, ancient way of saying, with great power comes great responsibility, which is a saying in the Spider-Man films that many pop culture and even comic book fans, just people who love films and culture like that, they love that quote. Well, I'm just reminding you all, just for good measure, and always good to learn something new every day. That quote originally comes from the Gospels.
It's beautiful, Ben. That really is. And I want to make sure we kind of tap into that more. This is all of the bases. We're not afraid of who we are. We are very happy and honest. And that's what we try to be, just, doing what we're doing. So I appreciate it. And Ben, it's been another great episode. I'm going to get out of here, and I expect a lot of you guys to do the same. We will be back very soon on all of the bases. Ben Oppenheimer, Dan Bartels of MLB Network now has a nice ring to it. And everybody, we will talk soon.